listen to the silence of space. Tonight, we will fall asleep to stories about the space station and those who work there. Just close your eyes and let the voices from NASA take you to the stars.
Houston, we have a podcast. Welcome to the official podcast of the NASA Johnson Space Center, episode 24, Space Habitats. I'm Gary Jordan, and I'll be your host today. So on this podcast, we bring in the experts, NASA scientists, engineers, astronauts, all to let you know all the coolest information that's going on right here at NASA. So today, we're talking about the space habitat analog that we have here at the NASA Johnson Space Center called the Human Exploration Research Analog, or HERA, with Lisa Spence and Paul Haugen. Here in Houston, Lisa is the Flight Analogs Project Manager for HERA, and Paul is the HERA Operations Engineer. They work with the people who actually stay in HERA, this analog, and simulate deep space missions for days, weeks, and now more than a month. And actually, just recently, the Campaign 4 Mission 3 this year just got out, and they're going to be going home for the holidays. And speaking of which, happy holidays to all of you, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever. Happy holidays, and I'm glad to see that the Campaign 4 Mission 3 crew members are going to be going home too. But here with Lisa and Paul, we had a great discussion about HERA, what it is, what it's like inside, what crew members do on missions, what we're learning, and then how to sign up for those missions. So with no further delay, let's go light speed and jump right ahead to our talk with Ms. Lisa Spence and Dr. Paul Haugen. Enjoy.
T-minus 5 seconds and counting. Mark. All launch commit lights are correct. There she goes.
Houston, we have a podcast.
You were part of the crew that was in there during, like, right before Harvey hit or something?
Yep. So we were halfway through when Harvey hit.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Halfway through, how long of a mission?
It's a 45-day mission.
Whoa,
so
okay.
So we were on day 23 when we got kicked out. So.
Wow. So by that time, were you pretty much immersed in?
Oh yeah.
In like the whole environment.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, you're back on Earth, and
yeah,
there's
it
a
was.
hurricane.
It was weird. I mean, we were very much immersed in. We got woken up on. They have an emergency comm for just stuff like this, and because we were in a comm delay, so our normal comm, was already at a delay going on. But we got called on the emergency radio and said, "Pack it up, you guys are kicked out." So
that's it.
Yeah.
It was just, all right. Well, we're done. We gotta go.
Yep.
So there wasn't, because at the end I know there's like usually a ceremony, right?
Yeah.
And they do this whole thing where you come out. It was just, all right, you guys get out.
Yep, they had all the gates were closed, so they had to specially open up a gate to get us out because they were flooded. I mean,
whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, so when did you? What was the day that you guys were out?
We got kicked out on August 27th, so that Sunday morning.
Oh.
So it was right in the middle of all the flooding and stuff. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I live up in the city, and by far the worst night was Sunday night. But I think Saturday night into Sunday night was pretty bad.
Saturday night was the worst one.
For here down in JSC? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, big time. Yeah, they got just hammered.
Wow. So what happened to the HERA facility?
It was fine.
Really?
Yeah. So we were fine inside, but
you were fine. Okay.
Mission Control, those guys were having trouble getting in and out of Johnson Space Center, and so it was concern for them that we had to call it short. So,
wow. I know they had to set up a lot of cots and everything for people to go back and, once they were done, they just slept in the back rooms or something.
Well, in Building 30, yeah, but so
30.
we have our own mission control.
Oh, you're talking about HERA mission control.
The HERA mission control, and so those folks were having trouble getting in and out, and they were getting stuck in floodwaters and stuff, so it was concern for them that we had to call the mission. Yeah, because inside HERA, we were fine. Frankly, we had no idea.
And you're right, they closed the gates.
Yeah,
so on top of all the floodwaters, you couldn't even get in.
Yep.
Wow. All right. Quite an experience. Are you going back then?
Nope, that's it.
That's it.
I mean, it was fun, but now I know too much, so they won't let me go back and be a subject.
Oh, that's right, because you actually experienced it.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's pull back then, because
Sure.
that was an awesome story. Let's pull back and just talk about what is HERA.
Sure. Okay.
So we're talking about space habitats, and it's really a simulator for what it would be like, right, to live in a deep space environment. Is that kind of right?
Close. So it's not actually a simulator, and that's a word that gets used quite a bit, but it's a little inaccurate. So it's not actually a simulator. It allows us to simulate what it's like, and the difference is that there's a fidelity difference. So what this allows us to do is to simulate that we are in a deep space mission, and we're isolated, we're confined, and we're controlled. And by controlled, I mean so they are constantly monitoring us with cameras and audio, and we are wearing all sorts of different equipment to measure various biomarkers or whatever the case may be, and then there's a mission control. So it's very controlled what they allow in and out of Hera. So it's a very, very controlled environment, and so that's and so by allowing us to simulate what it's like to be, then they can do all sorts of various studies, and they can tweak this little part here to see how that will affect things or not. So
okay, so instead of a simulator, what do they call Hera then?
An analog.
Analog.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's an analog?
So an analog is kind of what I was describing. So it's a environment that, in our case, there's two main types of analogs. There's a isolated and confined and controlled analog, and then there's one that's more of an extreme environment that's not as controlled. So there's not as much monitoring, there's not as much knowing what goes in and out, but it's more of a harsh environment, such as Antarctica or Nemo, which is an underwater analog. Mm-hmm. So there's two main types of analogs. The one here, Hera, is the controlled environment. So it's the isolated, confined and controlled environment.
Okay, and what's the significance of those two segments, like the controlled environment and then the extreme?
Sure. So the controlled one allows you to do specific scientific studies and really control what's going on, right? So it really allows you to baseline and to change certain parameters that really allow you to see how that is going to affect various things, and you're very much isolated and controlled that way. Whereas more of an extreme one is not nearly, there's a lot more variables that are not controlled, and so it's harder to set up specific types of scientific experiments maybe. However, there's the added part of being an extreme environment. So there's actual really, physical risk. If there's an issue in Antarctica, you cannot just open up the door and walk out and be okay and go to the doctor. I mean, you're in a rough environment. Same with Nemo. Yeah. I mean, you can't just open up the door and, you're 60 feet underwater. So
yeah, because Nemo is the habitat
correct.
That's literally underwater, and you're right. You can't open up the door because you're so deep underwater. It's correct. Not even just getting out and splashing up. Like there's a whole yep. sequence of getting.
And
out.
there's real danger.
But that's the purpose, right?
Correct.
Is you're putting them in
that's
an environment
correct.
Because the imminent danger is supposed to help with imminent danger in space.
That's
right?
correct. So
yeah.
you're adding that stressor that is a real stressor. I mean, technically, I suppose the T-38s could be considered a type of an analog.
Yeah,
because,
aircraft. Yeah.
They use it as a trainer, but they do that because there's real risk involved and there's a real operational experience. Mm-hmm. Whereas, Hera, a person knows that you can open the door and step out. Now, that being said, after day 2, we were really quite immersed. You have that in the back of your head that you can open the door and step out, but you forget about it and you really become immersed in the mission. So it's not as big of a player as what I would have originally thought maybe.
Yeah.
I was surprised how quickly I was able to get immersed in the mission and forget that I was, obviously I knew I wasn't in space because I wasn't floating around or anything like that, but I got immersed in the mission, and that happened much more than I would have guessed and much quicker than I would have guessed.
Yeah, because one of the main objectives of Hera, right, is their human research component.
That's correct.
Is understanding what goes through, I guess psychology is one component, but then there's other components too for the human research aspect.
Yeah, so actually psychology, that's probably the largest component, because they're looking at the isolation aspect and that type of thing, and how 4 crew members operate together. And in our case, I mean, we're total strangers. So, but then there also is more, there's physiological studies and other principal investigators that look at other aspects as well. But probably the psych docs are the biggest components of the studies.
Yeah, I guess the psychology, and then is there a team component too? Because you said that you're working with some strangers, but do they select you because you're compatible with these strangers or incompatible?
Oh, well, so the people that select the crew, so there's criteria they want. There's an age range.
Yeah.
They want 30 to 57, I think it is, and they want at least a master's, and they want it in a technical field, and they, so there's different criteria like that. But then beyond that, there's a physical you have to pass, and there's psych screening that you have to pass. But beyond that, so the people that are selecting the crew, they look at personalities, and they look to see, is this crew going to be compatible? And they are not trying to pick a crew to fail. They are picking one to succeed. So they are picking crew members that they think will work well together, and knowing that maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe all of them are going to have some quirks like we all do, I guess. I mean, so maybe they're not going to work, person A and B are not going to work as well as person C and D together, but they'll still be good enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
So they definitely look at that.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's getting these group of people to test all of these human aspects of putting together a mission. And the mission is what? What are you simulating in the analog?
So our mission this year, this year is simulating going to an asteroid and collecting samples at the asteroid. Mm-hmm. It's a 715-day mission or something like that.
Wow.
That they shrink down to 45 days.
Okay, so you're in there for 45
correct.
days, but pretending to be in
correct.
there for...
That's correct.
Okay.
So future ones may be going to the moon, maybe going to Mars, something like that. But but it's the purpose for Hera is a deep space mission. So it's not just going up to ISS or anything like that, but it's extended exploration into deep space.
And it's a deep space mission in this analog, right? Which is simulating that if you were to go in a mission profile just like this, you would have this habitat that you would be in, and that you would live and work in for a simulated 2-ish years or whatever, but really it's 45 days, obviously.
Correct.
So what's the lay of the land inside Hera? What's the full, I guess, the plan?
Sure.
The blueprint for Hera.
Floor plan? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they try to keep it, similar to what they think, a deep space vehicle would be, mm-hmm. Volume-wise. Obviously, the difference here is we're in 1G, so we can't live on the roof or the walls or anything like that, right?
That's right.
But so the general layout of there's 2.5 levels, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So the bottom level, there's a tiny airlock, and we use that for simulated EVAs and stuff like that. There's the main part down on the first floor, and that has workstations or different simulators that we'll work on and stuff, lab desks, and then there's also a hygiene module. So there's a bathroom, a shower, sink, and stuff like that. The second level is that's more of the quote-unquote living space. Maybe that's where the food galley is. So that's where the kitchen is, where we would cook, prepare foods. That's we would do. There's some workstations up there as well. There's workout areas for whether it's an exercise bike or weights or whatever. And then the half level I was talking about, it's actually a level 3, and those are the sleeping quarters. And so those are roughly the size of a twin bed. So they're fairly small, and they are, and that's all that's up there. So it's just the sleeping quarters.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us, Lisa. I'm sorry.
Glad to be here.
I know you're very busy, especially because there's a mission going on right now, right?
Yes, there is. We are actually on day 19 of 45. So,
all right.
Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, Paul was. We started with Paul talking about his part of a mission because of the whole Harvey thing. But then we were just going through the sort of layout of Hera and living and working, I guess. But it's 2.5 levels, you said, and there's living. There's a living component, sleeping component, and it's just this whole confined area, right? Is it self-contained?
It's pretty much self-contained.
Okay.
It's not hermetically sealed, so it is getting air exchange from the outside. We don't have an active environmental control and life support system. We have plumbing that's provided by the facility, but it is self-contained. So once we close the doors to start a mission, those doors stay closed until 45 days later, when the crew triumphantly emerges from the Hera and gets to reunite with friends and family.
That's true. Or quickly emerges in Paul's case, I guess. But
that was a bit unfortunate.
Well, he said even in that short amount of time, he got immersed, right? You got immersed into the environment. You were living it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what was it like living it then? What was what state of mind were you in order to think that you were in space, that you were operating in a space habitat?
So again, I don't quite know how to describe it, because okay. We knew that we weren't in space, for example.
Yeah.
But I get maybe it started with training. I mean, the trainers did such a good job explaining the importance of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and how important it is to get in that mindset. And so just going in purposely with that mindset, I guess it just kind of came naturally then after that, and we got into a routine, and we kept incredibly busy. It was partly a sleep deprivation going on, so we had long work days, and they just kept us busy doing tasks all day. And it really, I suppose that was part of it too, just keeping us busy and constantly going, that helped us to get in there.
So on top of the 45 days, there's a prepping component too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How early are you starting to prep the crew members for their stay?
So the training for these 45-day missions, the training starts 16 days before they're going to go in. So it's we were finding that 2 weeks was just a little bit cramped, and even 16 days may be a little cramped, because as Paul said, we keep them really, really busy during the time frame that they're in there. And so some of that is on the more operational tasks. So the kinds of activities and tasks that you would do as you are flying your spacecraft to this destination. And then, of course, the activities that you're going to do at destination and then the return. But they're also engaged in all of the scientific investigations that we are doing, where we're collecting the data that will ultimately inform some decisions that we'll be making, in order to keep our crew members safe and healthy and happy and productive as they're going on those really long duration exploration missions. So there is that training component that's up front. We're also collecting some data that we use as our baseline data that can then be compared to, well, what are the effects? So now we have these individuals, we get some baseline information. Now we subject them to this isolated, confined, and controlled environment for 45 days. What is that effect? What changes? And can we detect those kinds of changes? And then ultimately, will we be able to mitigate those changes if they're not healthy or productive? All
right. So there's, 16 days, that's a pretty jam-packed kind of schedule to prep for all of that sort of training. What's the type of training you're getting? I guess it depends on what you're doing on board. So I guess the follow-up would be, what are you doing on board?
So I'm not quite sure how detailed we can get because we can't spill the beans for future stuff.
That's right, because you want people to sign up and do more missions.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, critically important that that we're able to find, suitable volunteers. People who, to a large degree, mimic or emulate the type of people that we select for astronauts. So that's very important to us. But some of the types of things that they do, we have a lot of simulators. And so they're flying a simulator for their spacecraft. They're participating in virtual reality EVAs. So they do spacewalks, but they're all in virtual reality. There's prep work that needs to go with all of that.
Sure.
There's also a simulator that is like a robotic arm trainer. And those are some of the operational tasks, although the operational tasks do allow us to collect some data as well. They have to cook their food. There's no, mom or dad or spouse or whatever to cook the meals for you. So they do have to cook their own food. It's all food from, for this current mission, this series of missions, all of the food is from the food lab at JSC.
All right.
It's the same food that the astronauts are getting on board the International Space Station, which means that it's either prepackaged, it's dehydrated, or it's those meals ready to eat that you just kind of warm up in a little warming oven. And every single package of food has to be individually fixed. So it takes time. There's a serial process. They get to do a lot of exercise. And then, of course, any self-respecting spacecraft, you're going to have to do a little bit of onboard training. You're going to have to do some maintenance and housekeeping tasks. We also have to practice some emergency procedures just in case an emergency were to happen. And so the team, my team, comes up with, a very intensive scenario for the spacecraft mission itself, and then we weave in all of the different scientific investigations.
All right. So do you have to make up different ones every time, or do they sort of translate the emergency scenarios?
So there's a wide variety of things that they run you through and stuff like that. And, and all of those things, they need to train you in the 16 days prior, because as Lisa said, if you don't know how to do something, it's not like they're going to open the door and show you how to do it. So you need to know how to do all of the operational tasks, all of the scientific studies, how the vehicle works, how the Hera works in those 16 days. So the training is quite intensive as well. They really cram it with teaching you that stuff. So.
Sounds like it. Is there a lot of autonomy with the way that you're doing these tasks, or do you have some support from a simulated mission control?
Well, so mission control is always there. Okay. So they're 24/7. Okay. And they are always there to answer questions or whatever the case. So you always have that support. I think it varies from crew to crew and crew member to crew member, how autonomous a person or a crew wants to be. So MCC is always there, but some crews or some people may be a little more autonomous than others.
So is that one of the things you're looking at, Lisa, is trying to see, what things people can do by themselves and what, about autonomy and what you need to support?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Some of the research is looking at those levels of autonomy. And so, yes, MCC is there 24/7. Sometimes they're more there than at other times. But one of the other things that happens during the mission is, we're simulating a mission to an asteroid. You're getting really, really, really far away from Earth over the course of the mission. So as you get further away from the Earth, there's a comm delay. And so when you say something to mission control, it may take, anywhere from an additional 30 seconds to 5 minutes before they hear what you said. And then, of course, when they respond, it's going to take that same 30 seconds to 5 minutes before you hear it. So if you're the crew member on board and you have a question and you ask MCC a question, it's at least 10 minutes. Worst case, it's at least 10 minutes before you get a response.
Wow.
And so what we find is that sometimes the crew members will have to wait for the response. And sometimes the crew members just get to the point where they're like, hey, we don't need no stinking mission control. We're going to figure this out by ourselves because we're not going to hear back from them anytime real soon. So we do see some trending towards increased autonomy. As we move forward with not this particular research campaign, but future research campaigns, autonomy will become more and more important from a research perspective. So mission control will always be there 24/7 to some degree, because that's a safety requirement to make sure that we have, that everybody is going to be able to implement the mission safely, no issues, no problems.
Yeah.
But in terms of how much interaction the crew members might have with the mission control, that may be scaled back in future research campaigns to sort of force that autonomy and to really be able to determine, if there are tasks that can and should be done that way, or if there are things that ought not to be done so autonomously.
So is that kind of depending on the mission profile? So you're doing a mission profile to an asteroid now. Maybe once you get to Mars, those can take 20-something minute one-way trip. You're talking about not getting a response for 40 minutes. So autonomy is definitely something that needs to be built into the tasks for that kind of mission, right?
Absolutely. And with the autonomy, will probably come a need to revisit how we're doing training, how much training we can do, how long it's going to take to do the training, and whether we need to move some of that training inside the module after the mission starts. I'm not talking about us coming in and setting up our little genie workshop. It would be some type of onboard training, maybe some uplink video or something along those lines. But our simulator does have the capability of doing that 20-minute voice delay. We don't need it for the current set of missions, but if we change our scenario, and as we change our scenario to a Mars-based scenario, we could certainly implement that longer-term comm delay.
Wow. So Paul, did you have to live this comm delay?
Yep.
You did?
Yeah, we were on day 23, so we were at the 5-minute one-way comm delays. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So how did that affect your work how did that progress?
Frankly, I don't really notice any difference other than having to be a little more careful about looking ahead more in whatever task we were working on, and saying, I need to interact with MCC here. I'm going to make the call as soon as I possibly can, and kind of lining it up that way. But really, it wasn't as a huge impact. I think one or two of the other crew members would probably say otherwise. I think it was a little more of an impact.
Yeah.
But then one or two of us, I don't think it was a huge impact. So.
So is that some of the stuff you're finding, Lisa? Is that some of this stuff is not universal, right? It kind of is a little bit more crew dependent.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And you had asked the question a little while ago about whether some of the tasks that we do, if we create them new for every mission. Actually, what we do is we have a suite of scientific investigations that we're implementing right now. We will implement those scientific investigations for all 4 of the missions that will run within that, we call it a campaign. Each one of the missions in that campaign is as identical as we can make it from a mission control, from a timeline standpoint. The variable in how the mission is executed really comes down to the individuals who are our crew members inside. And, we say it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and it's really true. Every single crew is different. Every crew is special, they're different, they're unique. How these 4 individuals mold into a crew, it's different every single time. And then, of course, the 4 individuals acting as individuals, that's different every time as well. So it really... when I abstract myself out of, the actual execution of the mission and I look at it kind of more in an aggregate viewpoint, it's just fun to see the variability between individuals.
Absolutely. That's just good science, right? Doing it the same, and then you just see the differences between exactly what you want to study, which is the people, right?
That's what we're hoping for, yes.
All right.
And that's one thing that's very unique. We had talked earlier about the different types of analogs, and that's one thing that's very unique, I think, to Hera, is that we are able to cookie cutter 4 missions and have them as identical as they possibly can be, and have 16 subjects or 16 guinea pigs or whatever that we can use for that scientific data. That is, probably more unique to our analog than to some others.
All right. So backing up from there, 16, you're talking about 4 missions per year, right?
Correct.
So 4 missions of 4 crew members.
Correct.
And this year, I guess, was the 45-day mission.
Yes.
So where did it start and how has it evolved?
So the Hera this is only our 4th year of operation. So this is campaign 4. It started, I guess, in 2012, 2013, with 7-day missions. So pretty short.
Yeah.
But it's a good place to start. And then the following year we went to 14-day missions. So we doubled, which is pretty exciting. And then the 3rd year, so campaign 3, last year, we did 4 30-day missions, so we doubled again. Now, if you do the math, we couldn't continue to double the duration of the mission and still get 4 missions executed in, roughly a year's period of time. So we work very, very closely with our scientific community, the stakeholders in all of this. And they certainly want those longer duration missions. They kind of determined that 45 days is a duration that is very beneficial to them. And so we can do the 4 45-day missions in roughly a year, as long as we don't get Harvey'd. Harvey sort of threw a monkey wrench into the whole process this year. So.
Ooh, that's right. So what number was your mission, Paul? Was it number 3 of 4?
We were actually number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you have 2 completed 45-day missions, right? And you're on the last one? Or did the schedule kind of get messed up?
The schedule got a little bit wonky. I think that's the technical term that we use for it, wonky. So Paul's mission was the 2nd, and it got Harvey'd.
Right.
So truncated at 23 days. And so we're currently in the middle of our 3rd mission.
I see.
So again, you kind of have to, we had to do all the recovery, of course, from Harvey. And then, we already had this 3rd mission scheduled for a specific time. We'd recruited subjects, and so we can't just, move the schedule around, to fill up the white space that was created by the shortened mission. So, so this is the 3rd mission. Our 4th mission will start in the January timeframe.
All right. So You mentioned that the 45-day mission was kind of like a 700 and something. What was the number again?
I think it was 715 or something like that.
715-day mission collapsed into 45 just because 715 would be a lot to ask of someone.
Think in terms of a time warp.
So how has the mission design changed because there was a 7-day mission, right? Did you condense the 715-day mission to 7 days?
We used a slightly different scenario during the 7 and 14-day missions, but they do get compressed or condensed fairly significantly. The 45-day mission obviously means that we don't have to compress it quite so much, but as we move on, we are looking at different kinds of scenarios, and so we may use a different compression factor just depending on what kind of mission profile we choose to fly for future campaigns.
Okay. So what was the 7-day mission? Was it out to an asteroid or was it somewhere else?
I believe it was to an asteroid. I actually came onto the project at the tail end of the 14-day missions. Actually, I think they were already over by the time I came onto the project. So I've really only been the project manager, for the end of that campaign and then all of the 3rd and the 4th campaign.
Okay.
And now planning for campaign 5.
All right.
Yes, it's very exciting.
So what's coming up then? Do you want to preview?
For campaign 5?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the same type of thing where there'll be a deep space exploration mission, to a destination of some type, and it'll be, they'll be operational. It'll be laid out the same. It'll be a different scenario, but it'll be the same types of things. So, operational tasks, scientific tasks. They'll be looking at, psychological aspects and autonomy and possibly some physiological again, but it'll be laid out similar. So again, there'll be 4 missions, as identical as can possibly be, with 4 crews apiece. So.
And they will be 45-day missions. So for the foreseeable future, all of our campaigns, as far as we know, the research community is requesting us to continue with the 45-day missions. So for campaign 5, we will have a different suite of scientific investigations. Some of the investigations that we're currently doing will carry over, and then we also have some new investigations that we'll be executing for the first time in campaign 5. So, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done with that. The investigations themselves oftentimes will drive the types of operational activities that my team develops. So for instance, one particular research investigation may be looking at crew interactions. And so we might want to develop some operational tasks that would force a couple of crew members with working together, and maybe force different combinations of the 4 crew members working together, maybe 2 working together, 3 working together, or even tasks that would require all 4. And so as we get into, we're just getting ready to kick off all of that activity, but as we get into into the guts of the individual scientific investigations, that will help us determine what scenario is going to work best, what kind of activities will we need to do, how intensive are some of the data collection activities that we need to do, how is that going to impact laying things out on a mission timeline. All of those things kind of get rolled up into a whole lot of work that a small number of people will do in what seemingly is an incredibly short amount of time.
All right. Well, it sounds like there's not a lot of spoilers that you can give for what's coming up, but is there some high-level stuff that you can share about what you've learned so far and how that's going to be put into deep space missions for actually, for human spaceflight in the future?
You're kind of touching on an area that, for me, was one of the neatest aspects of being on the crew, and that was having the folks doing the training amplifying the fact that this is needed for real deep space missions. So this type of research, the questions that are being asked and the answers that they're trying to find are needed before we can ever hope to go to deep space. And so that aspect is pretty neat. There's all of the questions I think that we've already been touching on as far as of what types of questions they need to answer. The autonomy, the crew composition, the different thing. How busy do the crew need to be on, if they're going for 9 months to Mars, how busy do they need to be during that time? Or can they just have nothing to do all day for 9 months? So there's all sorts of different questions that need to be answered, and they're trying to answer now. I think a lot of the studies, because they do roll from year to year, I think a lot of it hasn't been published yet and been fully analyzed. So I think Lisa will know better, but I think we're just starting to get to the point where they're starting to maybe publish some of the work now from the past 4 years.
So more to come.
Yeah, absolutely more to come. And Paul's absolutely right. A lot of the studies that we saw in earlier campaigns, they do have a tendency to roll forward. About half of the studies in any given campaign tend to move forward, and some of them have been implemented or planned to be implemented in 2 or 3, maybe even more research campaigns. So it gives the researchers a lot of that scientific validity.
Yeah.
But the researchers are also making some slight modifications to how they're doing their research based on what they're seeing. That doesn't mean that they have the answers or that they have published those answers, but they can kind of see, trends in what is going on. So I think it will be very exciting. One of the things that the Human Research Program does every year, they have an investigators workshop that happens at the end of January. It's down in Galveston. We invite all of the researchers who are being funded through the Human Research Program to come and talk about their research, and whether that is talking about what their research is, for instance, if they don't have any results yet or haven't crunched all the numbers, if you will, or whether they have preliminary results, or, if they're just in the planning stage for that next experiment. But it really, I think we are now at the point where the 2018 investigator workshop is really going to start. We're really going to start hearing about some of the results that investigators participating in HERA over the last 3 years have what they've found.
Wow.
I know. It's great.
That's cool. So HERA is mostly a human study, right? It's mostly the human aspect. Is there some components of designing a mission or the layout of a space habitat, or is it really just focusing on the human part?
No, I think you touch on an important aspect. So, there's whether it's procedures or even equipment or whatever that sometimes groups will want to vet or check out in an analog such as HERA. So there's most definitely other aspects of what analogs are useful for and can be used for.
Definitely.
And mission planning too, like you stated as well. So, yeah.
Even on the International Space Station right now too, they have conferences for medical conferences that are private because you need to keep that stuff confidential. But then also, in case anything's wrong, you can talk to a psychologist, and then you can talk to your family too. So you're in constant communication with them. You're in constant communication with the ground. You don't feel isolated. All these things on the International Space Station as well. And I'm sure HERA too has some human elements, but all of this can be translated out to deep space. So, Paul, take me through, I don't know, without, much spoilers, what's a typical day in HERA?
You wake up at 7.
Yeah. Wake up at 7. You don all of your equipment, which takes a fair amount of time. There's all sorts of different measurements that they're taking. So you don that stuff, you eat breakfast, and then you begin your day. So there's and the days vary, so it's not the same every day. So whether it's, some of the simulators that Lisa was describing earlier, or some of the other various tasks, and, generally we do them throughout the morning. Lunch would be later typically, we had a sleep deprivation going on, like I was stating. So we eat later and, mid-afternoon, and then continue on with tasks until evening. And evening would roll around, and we would, obviously eat supper then, and then we would have a little bit of downtime. And we had to be sure that we stayed awake until certain, so they were monitoring that pretty closely. But but the days were surprisingly, the time was absolutely flying by. It felt like we had been in there about 5 days, and it was 23.
Wow.
It felt like we were in the first week. So it was really going by fast.
Was your sense of time off because you're not really seeing the sun rise and set, right?
Yeah, I suppose it was. I think so. That was a little weird, not seeing the sun ever. but yeah, I guess, I didn't find myself getting hungry until lunch at 3 o'clock or whatever it was, later in the day, and supper we were eating late, but it didn't seem like that. It didn't seem like we were working these extended long days. It seemed like just a normal day. So the days were going by fast, and the time itself was going by pretty fast.
Wow.
So
you wouldn't let Paul go to sleep, huh? You had to keep him up.
No, everybody had to stay awake. So with the study that's going on, the awake time is 19 hours, and then the sleep time is 5 hours. But that's only Monday through Friday. You get to sleep in a bit on the weekend, so you do get a break on the weekend, sort of reset. And for some individuals, the fact that there is a weekend and the schedule's a little bit different, that might help people mark time. But yeah, the absence of all of those external cues, we do find that the crew members lose track a little bit of time. Now, you had a very special guest inside the Hera.
We did.
You had Wilson.
Yeah.
And so that goes back to the movie, I guess, Castaway, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, as I recall from that movie, and it has been a long time, he kind of marked off the number of days, but he was able to see the sunrise and the sunset to keep track of how many days he'd been on that desert island.
Help.
But I didn't observe this crew marking off the days. They just had Wilson as their companion.
Actually, we did. So we had there was a little whiteboard that we designated, and we had written out the calendar, or the mission days, and that was one of the highlights. So at the end of the day, we would go down and X off what day we'd finished, and
an advent calendar.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. Yeah, and we marked where, the halfway point. We marked when the comm delays would start. Kind of all of the big exciting things. When we'd reach the destination and how long we'd be there, we blocked that off. So we were checking the days off, but that was kind of a high. It was, exciting to whose turn it was to check off the date.
So that was something that your crew sort of just kept track of, right? It wasn't assigned to you.
No. So
was it like a team building thing that you guys came up with, or?
Not intentionally, but
okay.
It kind of ended up being that way.
Cool.
It ended up being that, I think it was the first day we were in there, and I just wrote out the numbers, and I didn't think anyone would really care. But then, everyone wanted to be, the one to check it off when we were done with the day. So it kind of became a team building thing.
Yeah. Hey, I guess in an environment like that, like those little things, like you really just look forward to, and hanging out with Wilson too.
Having Wilson. We used him on a lot of the PAO events, and had him around, and so it became kind of a neat little team building mascot as well.
Wow. So the kinds of people you're looking for to sign up are astronaut-like, right? In what sense?
So obviously our astronauts are very healthy. So our subjects have to be able to pass a modified Class 3 Air Force physical, which generally means you're in pretty good health.
Congratulations, Paul.
So you don't have to be an Olympic athlete or anything like that, but you do need to be pretty healthy. We're looking for people between the age range of 30 and 55. And I know we've gotten a lot of feedback on that, but by the time our astronauts fly, that's really generally the age range that we're going to see. So we want them to be similar in terms of, I'll call it social maturity, educational maturity, social maturity, so similar in that respect to our astronaut corps. Our astronauts are pretty highly educated, and so education is also one of our criteria. And we are looking for people who have an advanced degree, say a master's degree or above, in some type of STEM, science, technology, engineering, or math field. That's our favorite criterion to use, or one of our key criterion to use. We do find, though, that people who have certain types of backgrounds, say for instance a military background, we can easily substitute military background for that advanced education if a person has some level of skill in, say, maybe an engineering or a technology type of field and military experience. Those people are very similar to our astronaut corps as well. So those are some of the major criterion that we're looking for. We are looking for men as well as women. In a perfect world, we would have a crew that's 50-50, half men and half women. So those healthy, educated, individuals. Some of the other things that we look for are people who are highly motivated, so maybe goal-oriented, highly motivated. That describes our astronaut corps to a T.
Oh yeah.
And so those are some of the factors that we're looking at as well. And so most of those things are objective. You can, you check them off. Yep, you're in the right age range. Yep, you've got the right skill set or educational background. Yep, you passed the physical. And then we also do some interviews and some assessments with the potential crew members and say, yep, this person's definitely goal-oriented, which, helps us to say, this person, if they set a goal to, stay with us for 45 days, by golly, they're going to meet that goal.
That's true, because you need good people and good data too. You don't want someone leaving halfway through just like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That would be a bad day.
That would be a bad day. All right. Well, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there like that. But it's interesting that you say, in a perfect world, half men, half women. Is that the ultimate goal, or do you kind of mix it up every once in a while?
So that's our ultimate goal, and that is the goal that we have from a research perspective. So over the course of the campaign, they would really dearly love to see that 8 of the 16 were female and 8 of the 16 were male. So we would like to have that, that 50-50 split in each mission, but we also have to maintain schedule. And so sometimes just the way it works out between the people who have applied and who have screened and been found acceptable, they may or may not be available for a specific mission. So we have had missions where all 4 crew members were male. We've had missions where all 4 crew members were female. And we've had missions with a 50-50 split, and we've had missions with, 3 of one gender and 1 of the other. So to some degree, we kind of take what we can get or what's available.
Sure.
It generally comes very close to the 50-50 over the course of the campaign.
All right. Well, hey, good best of luck to you for getting the candidates for the Hera 5, I guess. What's the next one called?
Campaign 5.
Campaign 5.
Yeah. Yep.
Campaign 5.
Very
right?
cool. All right, well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. And if you stay tuned until afterwards, we'll tell you exactly where to sign up so you can possibly be a Hera crew member if you meet all the qualifications that Lisa said. But Lisa and Paul, thanks so much for coming in today. Lisa, I know you're busy, so thanks for running over here. I appreciate this. This was really cool.
Thank you.
Just to know about Hera. I've been to Hera and visited it a couple times, but just to dive in and understand what it's like to be there, that's pretty cool. So thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if you're over 30, consider joining us.
Almost there.
Houston, go ahead.
Off of the space shuttle.
Roger, 0G, and I feel
The
fine.
shuttle has cleared the tower.
in peace for all mankind.
It's actually a huge honor to break a record like this.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Never Houston, welcome to space.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. So, based on Lisa's description, if you think you're qualified to stay in Hera for those 45-day missions, and from what Paul was describing, they sounded pretty cool, just go to nasa.gov/analogs/Hera. That is the official Hera page. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's a box that says Want to Participate. And there you can see all the qualifications and how to apply and all of that kind of stuff. And be prepared for Campaign 5 next year, those 45-day missions that Lisa was talking about, and the new mission profile that they're going to be doing. We also like to post about Hera on social media on the NASA Johnson Space Center accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have a question about Hera, just use the hashtag NASA on any one of those platforms and ask a question about Hera. We'll answer it. Otherwise, if you have an idea for the show that you want us to do, maybe you want us to do another episode on Hera or on something else entirely, make sure to mention it's for Houston, We Have a Podcast, and we'll make sure to answer it for you or even do a whole episode on it. So this podcast was recorded on November 16th, 2017. Thanks to Alex Perryman for producing the show, and thanks again to Miss Lisa Spence and Dr. Paul Haugen for coming on the show. We'll be back next week.